I was carrying a baby with an enormous amount of complications and who was very unlikely to survive the pregnancy. So we went through a really, really difficult decision-making process and decided to terminate the pregnancy for medical reasons. And that was, I think probably the most traumatic thing that I've ever been through and we've ever been through in our life.
Our son would have been really, really unwell. There was only a 5% chance that he would survive until full term, and that even if he did survive until full term, he had a genetic disorder. He had internal bleeding in his heart, in his brain, on his spine. So his first experience of the world would have been surgery, open heart surgery, spinal surgery, all of these kind of things, which were just too horrific to face, really.
We chose to suffer so that he didn't have to. This is, why the show is what it is. It's this kind of metaphor of how we felt, of what suddenly, like, our whole life changed in an instant and we just felt lost and alone and completely dwarfed by this horrendous experience.
That choice, that horrible choice about really wanting a child that you already loved, but having to decide that for their good and for Claire's safety, you had to choose, you had to make a choice. And the crux of this show, the heart of this show, is the fact that there was no good choice to make.
Nearly 8 years on from that experience now, and it's still
painful.
Incredibly painful. It's the craving to be a mother is a very, very powerful one. It didn't stop us there. I wanted to try again. It was just within a year of it happening that then at 11, 12 weeks, then I miscarried. We have a daughter. I feel hugely blessed that we have a very healthy, wonderful 11-year-old. But I was at a swimming lesson with her, realised I was starting to miscarry, and
if the first one was agonising as a choice, this one was genuinely scary. And then the doctor said, first of all, that we should just go home and let it happen. But, it was so distressing, and for Claire that actually the receptionist at the doctor suggested that Claire go to hospital. So we went via home, and then Claire started hemorrhaging really seriously, and was passing out on the bathroom floor, was passing out in the kitchen, and had blood everywhere. Claire was semi-conscious and delirious and kind of speaking in tongues.
I had this really weird, I talk about this without sounding really strange, I could hear all these whispering voices. So I was I was aware that Lyle was there, and I was aware that our friend was there and they were trying to help me, but I was spinning out of kind of consciousness. I had kind of a weird out-of-body experience. It was very odd.
Yeah, she was bleeding to death, in short. I carried her into the car, couldn't wait for the hospital because the hospital was a 15-minute drive away and she might have been dead by the time the ambulance got there. Drove to hospital trying to keep her awake and then rushed her into A&E. Your blood pressure dropped so low that it was really touch and go,
I was holding on to the fetus, and then because it couldn't pass through, I was just bleeding out. And on some level, it was just I just didn't want to let go of the baby. Totally unprepared for it. It was a life-changing experience. I'd really like people to come away with an understanding of what pregnancy loss feels like, because 1 in 4 pregnancies don't go to term. That's a huge statistic, and so many people are affected by this, and it's still such a taboo. So I'd really like that conversation to be louder and more public, and hopefully this can in some way contribute to that happening.
As artists, all we're ever trying to do is to make empathy. That's our job in the world, is to try and through any given artistic medium, enable the audience to walk in someone else's shoes for a short period of time. And by doing that, it makes them appreciate a life which is other than their own, and maybe makes them feel a little bit kinder towards themselves or a little bit kinder to other people. And so if people can watch this show and feel that about people who've gone through a similar experience, or their family members have gone through a similar experience, then that for me is an amazing thing to have had the opportunity to do.